Hey, this is Matteo and we're here with Nathan van Vuuren, the designer of signature performance gear.
Man, we are excited. Recently I've just had the races for the Maui to Molokai and the Molokai to Oahu, so wanted to just give a quick rundown of what it looked like. So Matteo had some questions about it.
Okay, so my first question is just how big was your front wing?
So during the two races I had two options. So the one was a 710, which is a 110 square inch foil, super high aspect, and I also had a 140, which is more of a backup in case it was really light. But the chances of doing well on a bigger foil in this race was quite slim, so decided to go with the 710 for both the races, and it ended up working really good.
So how was the start? Like with the 710, was it hard for you to get up on foil?
So I got a brand new board. I wanted something that could get up really easy, and first of all, your first connection to the water and the foil is your board. So put a lot of design effort into this. So when we did get to our first race, which was the Maui to Molokai, that was a bit of a harder start because the bumps weren't as big, it was a little bit flatter, and there were a lot of subfoilers. I mean, there were like 120 people out there, it was crazy. But the main goal was to get up quick, so put some energy in, and surprisingly, because the foil is quite long, so it's about a 14 aspect ratio, which is pretty high. It gets up and going pretty quick if you put enough power in, and once you are going, a lot of glide and a lot of speed, so easy to maintain. So yeah, it was a good race. And then the M2M Molokai to Oahu start was a little bit different because we started out in the bumps, like way out, pretty much in the wind line, so it was very easy to get going.
Okay.
So that was just like stand up, get onto a run, and just accelerated and went with the bumps without falling. So
well, one more question about the start, like do you guys like kind of like run into each other because there's so many people in like a small area? Like, is there any accident happening, like running into each other?
So I think on the Maui to Molokai, that happened a little bit more because it was quite a condensed starting area for some reason. There was a lot of space, but everyone ended up grouping a lot. So
the boats were pushing.
The boats were in. So when everyone stood up, I saw a lot of people like right on top of one another, but there were also gaps. So you could just sit a little bit behind everyone if you wanted to, if you're confident in getting up. So that's what I did. I waited a little bit behind, found a nice gap, which is great. I looked sideways, people were like pumping next to each other, next to boats. I was like, whoa, this is wild. And
during the race, which part was your favorite? Like the start, the middle, the end? Like when did you have like the best time?
So I always love the start. The amount of pressure that there is to get up and go, that's always really fun, and that's where you can win or lose a race. But then once you are going to kind of start reading the bumps and settle into the race, especially these longer ones, you definitely have more time to just like, okay, all the energy of the first like 3 miles, okay, and then everyone sort of gets into that groove where they're going. You have those who are pushing really hard and to try to keep up. But I enjoy the start and like kind of the middle when it gets really technical, trying to catch and pull ahead of people. That's really fun.
And do you already had like a strategy, like where you like planning to go like further south, or like do you already had like a line plan, or you just go with the flow while you're at it?
So when it came to the line on the Maui to Molokai, I've never done the race, so it was a first for me, and I hadn't even, I mean, I looked on Google Maps and that is as far as I got. And then the next race, the Molokai to Oahu, I have done before, but because they changed the end and the finish, I actually had the wrong line through the race. I went too high up, so I thought I would get a really good line at the top and like shoot down, but then halfway in the channel I was quite high and the wind just died, and it was like really light and the swell was all over, so it was hard to get speed.
And did you ever fail during this runs?
Yeah, I fell, man, I think I fell twice on the Molokai to Oahu. I was flying, no big run, next thing just I looked and like completely zoned out, just in the moment, just flying, and then I just heard a sucking sound like a I'm like, no!
So
the foil came out the water and just had a big wipeout. It was so funny. On the Molokai to Oahu, I was coming at the end, my dad was in the boat, whole crew was there, everyone, all the friends, and they were like, woo, go Nate, we gotta go back to the harbor. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do one last cheer for these guys. So I'm like, woohoo! As I like claimed it, there was a log in the water and I wasn't looking.
No.
So as I claimed it, they turn around, I look and it's just a log, it just hit the ground really hard. In a moment,
wow.
like, no, we're so close to the end. There was somebody really close behind me as well. I didn't want to lose a position, so got back up, ground up quickly, like, just put all the power in and eventually got back up. That was wild.
Wow. And compared to 2018, like, how would you say it compared, like 6 years later?
Yeah, so my first Malakai to Wahoo race, I think one of the first foil crossings actually in the event was then, and it has changed dramatically. I mean, the foils I was on then, I thought I was on a super high spec foil. I think it was like 8, like an aspiration of 8, and
was
it was
the
a one.
albatross?
Yeah, the albatross.
Okay.
And that was the thing, man. That's what we had.
Yeah.
Compared to everything else, it was actually pretty ahead of its time.
Yeah, it was advanced.
Yeah, and it worked. And I think coming into this race, I expected like a really high level. So get there and everyone is flying. Nobody's going slow. So
yeah.
Really cool to see how much the whole fleet has just upped its level. Everyone's flying, gotten really fit as well. I mean, it's very impressive to watch the guys like Edo and Finn and Kane and Andrew, just everyone in the front just leading it and really putting a lot of effort in. You can see they've been training hard, and to kind of find the level of like pushing and relaxing, it really feels like racing out there. I'm enjoying it, so it's changed a lot.
Yeah. Do you think the Hawaiians and local people have an advantage compared to others because they know the waters here and the bumps?
For sure. So I think local knowledge for any of the races around the islands is a huge factor. I think for myself it was really hard because I came out of Cape Town. We were in winter season, there was no wind. And then we went to California for a while, then I had a wing event in the Canary Islands. Yep. So I came into this, had 2 days practice, just try to get in as much as possible, but I mean 2 days wasn't enough. But you could see the Hawaiian guys, like when they get out there, and those who've even just spent time out here and done the run beforehand, they're just very confident, pushing, and they knew they needed to go that way, and it's just easier to do the race. So it was good to stick close to those guys. Like for myself, I wasn't sure really what I was doing, so just stick with them and then to eventually try find a different line to try differentiate myself there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think local knowledge plays a huge factor out here.
Thank you so much for answering to all my questions. That was super interesting, and I'm looking forward to see you racing next year again.
You?
Yep.